What up, y'all? It is Anti-Negative back again. We are talking about the top 5 brews of Avatar from early access. So here are my top 5 things to try out once this set pops off. We are going to see a lot of things develop still. So yeah, we're going to just talk about like the main brews. And first on the list, number 1 up is Firebender Ascension. And this card is going to fuel a lot of different decks. The main one being the new version of Mono Red Aggro. So the whole point behind this card is that we have Firebender Ascension triggering off of everything that has an attack trigger. So that means like Hired Claw and Firebending both trigger this card. Another thing that this card does is it creates a 2/2 with Firebending, and then once it gets its 4 quest counters, then it copies a triggered ability on attack. So really good for Firebending. You can get more mana when, attacking, etc. So it's super good for the Firebending student. It's really good for Hired Claw. It's really good for pretty much all that stuff in general. Overall, this deck was really fast and it looks pretty good in comparison to, where Mono Red is out right now. I was definitely thinking that Mono Red, needs to kind of lean more into the prowess side again. So this over other things is definitely where we want to see the power kind of shift towards in Mono Red. So it'll kind of be all cruxed around this, and yeah, it'll be pretty good. We'll see how strong it is exactly when you see it against more of the meta decks like Dimir or Jeskai, any of the other control stuff. But overall, this deck has been really good. So we're gonna see how it develops over the course of the next few weeks here and see what really happens with everything else. Okay, so this Mono Red Aggro deck is definitely going to make some waves at some point here, so I'd keep an eye out. Definitely craft the Firebending student and save some rares for Firebender Ascension, because it's going to be a card that you're going to need for all the aggro decks. Maybe not so much the Izzet ones, but we'll see. Izzet Prowess definitely can pop up here, and that would not be a bad one. So keep an eye out for that. All right, so the next brew that's still in this same category here is Mobilize Suki with Arabella. So Suki is a 3-mana mono white card that says whenever a permanent leaves the battlefield, then make a 1/1 ally token. And this is super good with Mobilize specifically because it says when a permanent leaves the battlefield, it doesn't matter about it being a token. So that means the Mobilize tokens trigger Suki. It gives it +1. It's really good. You can put Delny in this deck, get 2 tokens as well. And then if you put Arabella in this deck, you have Firebender Ascension as well as all this other stuff. You can copy the Arabella trigger on attack and, swing in for like +10 damage from Arabella and just end the game before you even make any combat damage. So this is another one to look out for. Arabella plus Firebender Ascension plus Suki and Mobilize. So keep an eye out for that one. That one's definitely a good one to try out. All right, so now number 2 on the top 5 kind of brew rounds here, we have BADGERMOLE Cub. And this card is awesome. It is extremely pushed for a just a mana dork in general. This is pretty much Leyline of Abundance on a stick, and similar to like a Nyx Bloom Ancient Light, very, very mild compared to that. But the crazy curve that you can get with this card is not even like measurable to anything we have in standard right now. So what you do is you play Land of War turn 1. If it doesn't die, then you can kind of just win the game on turn 3. So BADGERMOLE Cub comes down on turn 2. You animate your second land because you're obviously playing this with your Land of War and with your... I mean, it actually doesn't really matter either or, but just looks more efficient to do it this way. But what you do is you play the Land of War, play the BADGERMOLE, animate the land, then your land taps for 2 mana, and then you can play another BADGERMOLE Cub and animate your other land, and then all of a sudden, all of your dorks and the animated Earthbent lands they can tap for 3 mana. So you have 9 mana on turn 3, allowing you to play a Crater Hoof or anything else. So this is going to go in a lot of different like earthbending type brews, which can be Gruul with all the Toph cards. Toph is actually very good, the Gruul Toph, because she allows you to earthbend whenever you cast a spell. And then she also buys back a instant or sorcery from your graveyard, so you can... I'm not really sure. It's really weird for her to do that, but it makes sense if you think about some other kind of Gruul cards from like Gruul Jund past that kind of do similar stuff to that. But you know, like even like if you look at Alchemy Jarzel right now, that card is like insane. It's like Snapcaster / Dreadhorde Arcanist on a stick for 3 mana. That is just insane. But this top card is really cool. Definitely a good brew around for Gruul. You can also try Naya with Metal Bender Toph, although that one seems a little bit more commander focused because it's really trying to build around artifacts and stuff like that. So you can also, you know, try like the other Edge of Eternity type Naya artifact builds with it, with like blowing up your artifacts and stuff like that and like throwing them at people's faces. But yeah, so definitely a lot of different brews to try with this one. You can even go Simic with BADGERMOLE and do the kind of Ouroboros type builds with it. That seems like the most consistent one. Plain mono green and just trying to face roll a Crater Hoof seems a little bit extra, but definitely worth it with this card. BADGERMOLE is not going to be a cheap card. It's definitely not cheap right now, just, you know, pre-order prices. But yeah, it's like probably going to settle around 20 or 30 bucks. Probably can go up more from that because I'm not sure how Commander is going to want to play this. It's not so much like Bristly Bill because you can't just put it in every brew, but you kind of can if you really think about it. Like, it's earthbending doesn't need to be your main thing, but just earthbending one land and then having every dork that you play get 1 extra mana from it, I think sounds pretty good for any green deck in Commander. So I don't know, remains to be seen. I think this card is really good though. So definitely higher up there on the tier list of cards in general. And it also goes into the top card in general of, you know, just the set as well. You'll see a lot of these brews are just kind of built around these like super tentpole cards. They aren't just good and like limited. These are like banger cards. Like they're so far above like where Spider-Man set the bar, although we have Cavero and a couple other cards, you know, which is Superior Spider-Man, kind of like reanimate combos. But yeah, this has a lot of them, and there's a lot of combos in this set too. So just overall, the mechanics in general have been A pluses. Now on to Brew 3. This is going to be Lessons, and I was actually genuinely surprised with Lessons. This was pretty much an Is It brew, which you can also go Teamer for Iroh, which is the 5 mana Iroh that allows you to play Lessons from your graveyard for like 1 mana. Also very good, 1 colorless mana as well, so that's also pretty relevant. But another really, really good card for this deck is Grand, the 1 mana 1/2 Grandma, who, if you have 3 Lessons in your graveyard, all of your non-creature spells cost 1 less to cast, which is insane. So she's just like this 1 mana 1/2 Grandma that even if you attack with her, you actually get to loot cards. So that's also a plus. You can just put a lesson in your graveyard, play 2 lessons, and all of a sudden everything goes crazy on turn 3. But not only that, the lessons are pretty good. We have Accumulate Wisdom, which, just like Grandma, when you get 3 lessons in your yard, you get to just Ancestral Recall with Grand for 1. So it just puts the top 3 cards of your library into your hand, and you're like, hell yeah. Other people were like, well, if the lessons are bad, why am I going to draw 3 bad cards? This is pretty much an Is It Prowess deck with like Storm Chaser's Talent, etc. So it's not just bad lessons in your deck. There's a lot of good cards in your deck. So this draw 3 here will be insane. It's not going to be a small amount of, you know, value here. So this kind of gives vibes of like the blue hymns, if anybody knows that from Alchemy, which, you know, those were literally out of control. But this card definitely takes a little bit of setup, but once you do get online, you'll never run out of cards, and then you can rebuy it with Stormchaser's talent. So it's just insane. And then we have a combustion technique with Gran, costs 1, so it's like an unholy heat. But yeah, 2 plus the amount of lessons you have in your graveyard is a lot of damage. This thing, I was seeing it go off for like +7, +8 damage to creatures for like 1 mana to 2 mana, and it exiles things when it dies. So this is like a Scorching Dragonfire on crack. Unholy Heat does not exile things. Like that is another thing that's crazy about this card is it exiles them. You can't stress that enough, because it's like, oh, you have a problem with Curiosity. I don't want to put Scorching Dragonfire in my deck. I'll just put this combustion technique in general into the deck because it kills pretty much everything. But not only that, it will kill Curiosity for good. Dragonfire can hit Planeswalkers. But yeah, this is a really, really good card. Lessons overperformed. There's a lot of things that can fuel the lessons. Again, Firebending is directly just going to be fed by this too, because then you have the extra mana to cast more lessons in combat or whatever other spell that you want. So Firebending can also cast like burn spells. We have Burst Lightning, things like that. And then if Gran lives, which if people are not paying attention to the card or read the card, they'll probably let Gran live for no reason. And then they'll probably lose the game to Gran because discounting cards by 1 when they're 2 mana equals a 1 mana cantrip kind of spell. And then having Ancestral Recall in Standard is a pretty good combo. So yeah, Lessons kind of overperformed. This was like kind of a crazy spell. Then you got stuff like Boomerang Basics as well, where that can just bounce Stormchaser Talent back to hand, and that's going to fuel the Esper decks as well. Maybe even Dimir Bounce comes back. So yeah, Boomerang Basics, Accumulate Wisdom, Combustion Technique, all super awesome lessons. I know there's a couple other lessons too in red that you can kind of like Chaos Warp something or like kind of spin the top of your deck. But yeah, so that one might see some play, but other than that, super cool spells. Actually overperformed, and a lot of stuff to be found out there. They might even be, dare I say it, another super good Izzet deck back in the format. Very efficient too, so a little bit scary, but we'll see how good it is, if it's like light years better than everything. So now number 4 on the list is Beifong's Bounty Hunter combo, and this one's really cool. It's a 4 mana Gruul card that allows you to Earthbend whenever a creature dies. So you get to Earthbend into an infinite combo with this. And what you can do in Golgari is you can play like Scavenger's Talent. You can mill out your opponent, similar to like Egret combo in Pioneer, if you know about that. So Scavenger's Talent allows you not only to find Beifong's bounty hunters, but also reanimate them. So if you don't have them in your card, you can like start sacrificing stuff and spinning your wheels by throwing a bunch of cards into the graveyard until you hit the Beifong. And then you can reanimate it by leveling up the talent as well. You'll probably run Badgermole Cub in this deck. Every single green deck probably is running Badgermole Cub, so just keep that in mind. And with your decision on whether or not to craft that card, you're probably going to need it in every single green deck. So until it gets banned, LOL, I don't think anything's going to get banned. But yeah, super efficient combo. All you have to do is sacrifice the Bloodghast, because that has landfall, enter back into the battlefield from your graveyard when a land enters the battlefield. Earthbending, whenever you kill this thing, it comes back to the battlefield. So even when you exile it. So really it's really easy combo to pull off if you have the Scavenger's Talent. I would say though that you have to have Scavenger's Talent in order to make this deck super consistent. You can obviously win through other means like Vine Lasher and Sephiroth, etc. But in order to make this deck ultra consistent, you're going to need a way to spin your wheels a lot. So having Scavenger's Talent in the deck makes it way better. All right, so now the 5th and final brew of Early Access Avatar. Obviously, there's going to be more than just these, and I'm going to mention some more. Is the BANT Airbending combo deck, and that's with the blue-white Azorius Aang that allows you to kind of like spell quell or something, and 4-mana Appa. But you need to play it along with Doc Orlok from Outlaws of Thunder Junction in order to play these Airbend cards from Exile for free, because it allows you to play these cards for free. But yeah, the deck kind of builds itself. You know, obviously like Aven Airbend, like Aven Interrupter and things like that kind of like go super well in this deck. But also the card Momo, the 1-drop flyer that allows you to play other non-lemur cards from your hand for 1 less. So allows you to play Aang for 2, Appa for 3. So that curve is really good. And if we can get Doc Orlok on the field in order to kind of facilitate this combo, obviously that'll be pretty fun. Cool thing about doing this with Momo though, is that yes, you get to make infinite tokens with Appa. We see that. But, you know, Momo, if he doesn't die, then he becomes infinitely large. And you can just one-shot your opponent with the Momo, because Momo says when another flying creature enters, it gets +1/+1, which is why Momo is going to kind of go in a lot of different flyer decks. So Momo is a really good card. Obviously, the discounts are amazing, but it also being a win con for this deck is pretty important, because without something like that giving you like some kind of like pseudo haste in the combo and like giving you a win con, it becomes much more jank. Whereas even with Momo, it's still kind of jank, but it is a combo nonetheless. And we're trying. And, you know, the Aang card can definitely go into Azorius Flash as well, just kind of like as a value piece. Definitely a great card. But BANT Airbending to play Doc Orlok, and this is why we're playing green, is definitely more of the kind of like signpost. We also have the BANT Aang card as well, which is a 5-mana card. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, put something with 4 mana or less onto the battlefield. That's really good. Really good card. But yeah, overall, really fun little jank combo here. And there's a lot of combos in this set. And I think that's what's making everybody really excited about it, because there's a lot of fun stuff to do. And everything is kind of equal in kind of like how it's broken. It's kind of all doing some kind of little combo. Once you get all the pieces together, it just goes off. I would say probably the outliers here are probably Lessons in Firebender Ascension, because they're so straightforward and like aggressive. But that's kind of what you want, and we want to see, because if, you know, being realistic, Jeskai Control and Dimir are kind of taking over the meta post the bans here. We all kind of saw this coming. So we want to make sure that those don't just take over the meta for like months and months and months. So seeing some more aggressive stuff come out of Avatar is definitely good. It was what we wanted to see. And hopefully they liven up the meta. There's a lot of cool cards to brew with. And yeah, so let's now move on to some of our honorable mentions here. And these are like full brews that you can do. And, you know, just like in general. First one up here is Grixis Azula. Grixis Azula, definitely the 4-mana Azula, really, really great card. You can copy something if you play it while she's attacking. She firebends too, so you have extra mana to kind of like snipe things down with in mid-range. Grixis Azula doesn't even have to be limited to Grixis. You can go 4-color for 4-color control and start to play stuff like Inevitable Defeat and Jeskai Revelation. Adding white into that combo there opens up the playing field pretty wide. So you can play also Lightning Helix and other cards like that to kind of like start blowing things up and throwing a lot of damage at the face. But yeah, overall, the Grixis Azula, just her being Grixis herself, really, really cool card. A lot of fun decks to be built around her. You can do Grixis mid-range, 4-color control. You can do Grixis Flash. You can put her in Grixis Haste. I definitely have kind of been a Grixis guy for the last, you know, forever. So yeah, seeing this card just being blatantly Grixis and 4 mana is like 2 things I really wanted, especially with Kefka being 5 mana. It's like I needed that kind of curve filler there to kind of replace like maybe Oil Deep Gear Hulk, not really sure. You know, and we can also play like the High Fate Trickster to give everything flash. So maybe we can even play those cards in mid range and like copy an OLD Gear Hulk. I don't know. That could be fun. But yeah, so if we're able to play some more mid-rangey stuff with Grixis, I'm totally fine with it. If it's in 4-color control, also pretty cool. I just really like this card. Really crazy character as well. Like she's definitely like psychopath in the show, so it kind of fills out a lot of the vibes here. I think the flavor of this one is just super on point. But yeah, really, really good card. And it kind of really speaks to how strong Azula is as a character. But yeah, so definitely worth checking out. I'm definitely going to brew it. And, you know, it's probably not going to be at too much of expense because I think it's just a rare. So, all right. So the next one is Allies. And this one I wasn't super high on reading it at face value. I just needed to see all the rares first because it is so filled out with rares. Like this is one of those decks I wouldn't super recommend because I don't think it'll ever be tier 1, but I think it'll be pretty good. It can be tier 2 for sure, maybe even 1.5 in like some crazy era. But yeah, it plays out like much like Joda humans, 5-color humans, where you're just kind of spamming out all these like very specific cards you have to have in the deck. And yeah, you can just play a Great Divide Guide and have every color of mana and have all your allies top for mana. I would even say you could put even BADGERMOLE Cub into the deck and it will allow you to tap for even more mana. And I don't know, it just seems kind of good. It looked good. It allowed for a lot of power onto the battlefield. I don't think that's anything that we did in early access with this deck is the final iteration of it, because obviously mostly bested one, and a lot of these kind of like brew around kind of block decks that we make in early access are always going to be like, for lack of a better term, Disneyland versions, so we don't have to put as much interaction in general. So I would say that you want to keep an eye out for this one. I'm not sure if you open a lot of these cards, yeah, sure, build it, but I wouldn't recommend putting all your rares into it all at once unless you really want to play this style of deck. If 5-color Jodo was like really fun for you, or legend style decks, this one's for you. Also, counter to that, you're not playing legends, so there's a lot of cards you can just play. There's a lot of cards like access top of your library. There's a lot of really cool, fun designs in this deck in general. So yeah, there's a lot of protection it has. It doesn't really have that much interaction, but it has a lot of protection. And so you can play BANT with Katara. You can play 5-color with just everything. Yeah, a lot of stuff to try there. Next up on the honorable mentions is, again, MOMO. So MOMO is not just, you know, the Airbender Aang's little pet. This is a card that can go in any flyer deck to kind of like pump itself up, give you like a really strong 1-drop. You know, it can discount Empyrean Eagles. It can discount Zoraline from Bats. So that kind of just being like part of your game plan and just putting Momo in like ORZHOV Bats or Life Gain, etc. Really, really cool card. I think that if you're thinking about playing one of those decks like ORZHOV Life Gain and you have Zoraline in the deck, playing Zoraline on turn 2 sounds pretty good. So I think that would be a very good addition to the deck and might even make a Azorius Birds deck. There's also an Azorius enchantment to boost all your flyers. So there's like a little anthem effect for Azorius, and it's only 2 mana. So that could be a thing. There's also, you know, in the format, there's also a Selesnya one too. So Bant could technically be Bant Birds. But yeah, the Chocobos don't have flying, unfortunately. But you could have like some kind of like boosted up version of them. Anyways, Momo, good card. Definitely think that it's worth building around those existing archetypes with, and just kind of stick it in there and see how you can fit it in. Definitely an easy card to put in because it's 1 mana. So really, really happy with this Momo card. And ORZHOV Sacrifice. This deck got a few like really cool pieces. Also just got a lot of really good sack fodder. We got like Obsessive Pursuit. We got Sandbenders. Sandbender is probably one of the better cards of these. And then we have like Tolls of War. So these 3 cards, I feel like kind of automatically slot straight into ORZHOV Sacrifice. And Sandbender in particular, when it dies, it allows you to reanimate something like with mana value equal or less to its power. So it just immediately can get you like Sephiroth back or something like that, which has always been kind of a problem with ORZHOV Sac, is that it really just needs you to have your Vengeful Blood Witch and your Sephiroth there in order to do anything. So the fact that this can kind of like buy those back is really, really crucial. And then Obsessive Pursuit, Tolls of War, those also give you a lot of sack pieces with the clues that they're going to give. Tolls of War also gives you a 1/1 whenever you sacrifice something. And then you can put in the new airship, the Phoenix like fire ship, that allows you to make copies of it if you sacrifice something this turn. And that can go exponential. It's another like flying win con for the deck that wasn't there before. Obviously, it's not like super efficient. If you really want to like maximize this card in particular, you might want to go Rakdos and just kind of build it on treasures as opposed to like a full-on like aristocrat style sacrifice deck. But yeah, so if you get a certain amount, I believe it's like 8 airships, they become creatures, and you just have the fleet come in and blow everything up. So definitely a cool little card to kind of brew around there, and definitely ORZHOV Sacrifice, maybe even Rakdos Sacrifice soon. We don't have good lands for it, unfortunately, but ORZHOV definitely has its lands, so we want to make sure that we mention that today. And then we have all the temple lands for number 2, the top cards. And this is the whole cycle. Every single one of these lands the rare cycle lands that we got for this, these are good. Like, these are really good, and we're going to want to put at least one of these in a lot of our decks, even if it says it needs a basic to be untapped. I have no problem playing this turn 1 and just kind of taking a turn off in a mid-range deck. It's like the blue one we can like loot and stuff for like 4 mana. It's like, that's so good. Like, I am down to draw cards for that little of price. And if I'm putting something into my graveyard, it might even fuel my plan for having graveyard stuff in general, especially if it's in blue. That's something I want for like a Superior Spider-Man deck or something like that, reanimate. So yeah, I think every single one of these fills its curve pretty well. Maybe the red one with the Firebending for 4, it doesn't really translate that much mana. But if you have Firebender Ascension, it can equal 8 mana. So that's also pretty good too. We can get counters with the green one or with the white one. And then with the green one, we can Earthbend. So it's like every single one of them is so good that I think every single deck, if you're like in green in general, you're going to want to play some of the green ones, maybe even 2. And yeah, every little piece of the set, it felt like they took a lot of attention, a lot of time, a lot of effort in, and a lot of care. And I'm really about that, and I think that deserves to be talked up here in terms of the design of this set in particular. Let's just kind of throw the collector boxes away and forget about the really crap styles they're trying to sell us. I hope those do terribly, because again, I want those prices to go down. We should be paying $450 MSRP anyways, so we should be getting lower price points on that as a whole. And yeah, so yeah, just overall though, design of this set is very good, so we want to make sure that we accent the things that are good and how fun this is going to be. And then the final card, which we all knew this card was going to be awesome. This is not really an early access build round because it is that good. That's how good this card is. Wan Shi Tong. And obviously there were some people brewing around this card. Obviously if like you're super into mid-range and kind of like greed piles, this card's for you. But Wan Shi Tong, in my opinion, is a control mid-range card and kind of like combo card. I saw some people kind of brewing around with like the Secret of Bloodbending, stuff like that, but you can brew it in a lot of different stuff. You can put it in birds, you can put it in Azorius Flash, Grixis Flash. Yeah, there's just so much stuff you can do with this that allows you to like draw cards and then kind of shut down some of their Fable Passages, whatever. If they're doing any type of like tutoring effects, that's not going to be really like prevalent in standard so much, although there is a lot of stuff that does do some kind of like fetching tutoring. But Tong, awesome card. I don't imagine this card is going to be very cheap, and I think it's going to impact older formats more than anything else, especially like Modern. And I think Modern's going to want to play with this immediately. So you know what happens when Modern wants to play the cards? Everything goes up massively in price because Modern players pretty much don't open packs. That's one of the issues. I mean, they're just like me. We're all the same. Like, I don't like opening packs. I like buying singles. So, you know, when you have a whole format of players who are kind of more sweaty and they all just kind of like opening like nothing, unless it's like a forced draft they have to do, then they'll just buy all the singles on the market. Hence, look at Quantum Riddler on MTGO. So that should speak enough that, you know, there's not enough Edge of Eternity's packs being opened on the sweatiest place to play Modern, and that would be MTGO. So more than 10 cards, I would say, that are going to see a lot of play, which is more than we can never say about Spider-Man, which is good because, you know, we wanted something to compare to. We want a reason to have, like, you know, to be excited about playing Magic. This is one of the things that we like about Magic. We also have a good limited kind of set coming as well. It looks pretty difficult, but it also looks really fun. A lot of stuff to try out, a lot of stuff to brew. There's archetypes, but there's a lot of splashing going on as well. So yeah, it's just going to be fun. It's going to be a really fun set to play. It makes me even more looking forward to Lorwyn, not only because we get the shocks, but those cards also look pretty good too. So I think we might have 2 banger sets in a row. Avatar's a banger. I don't know if buying this set is really the right move, but definitely playing with a lot of these cards, and they look really fun and they synergize. Mechanics are good. Yeah, just a lot of really good time and effort and care put into this set. It reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy, but this time we're getting a lot of like synergistic mechanics to go along with it. Whereas Final Fantasy was very, you know, isolated. Every card was just kind of like a really good card on its own. But yeah, that's going to be it for this week. Enjoy your time before Avatar. Enjoy the time without Vivi. If you're a Dimir player, Jeskai player, enjoy the week until Avatar comes out, and then maybe the meta will shift and we'll get a brand new meta with Avatar, because it looks like a lot of things are going to influence the meta here. So we'll see what happens. All right, peace.